let's go, and you may start in 12 minutes. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Myself is Benford and my co-author is Dr. Risha Maria. So today we would like to present our research, which is pragmatic study of Benford law in detecting earning management based on public limited corporations in UK. So basically this study is for earning management applying Benford's law. So I would like to present the aim of the study, which is detecting the earning manipulation by applying Benford's law, and the objectives of this research are to estimate the value of earnings management using performance matched discretionary accruals model. And our second objective is to detect the earning management practices and analyze it applying Benford's law. So, earning management is, we can see that it is practiced widely since 1980s, and hence is why the problems and the challenges we can identify in UK corporations. So, our study based on that how we are influenced by this problem area which are practiced by UK corporations. So, these are the techniques we can see that we have identified for this research: cookie jar, big bang and income smoothing. And these are the models of earning management. We can see there are various models like Haley model, Deneglo model, Jones model, but for this study we have adopted performance matched discretionary accruals models. So now I would like to pass on to my colleague, which will carry on the rest of the presentation. Thank you.
Well, just thank you, Dr. Pitpa, for supporting this presentation. And then, as she just mentioned, that we applied performance matched discretionary accruals model, and for that we calculated total accruals, then non-discretionary accruals, and then we identified discretionary accruals from that. That is balance sheet approach. We obviously use the balance sheet to get that value, and then after we run regression analysis. So obviously we got the parameters, and then total accruals minus non-discretionary accruals. We found this is basically the errors, financial manipulations, which we have considered earnings management, the proxy value of discretionary accruals. And then obviously we rely on these data. So Benford law, basically, nowadays, the external auditors widely use Benford law to just say whether these have been manipulated, the data have been manipulated or not, because Benford law has his own data, like it is particularly digital based data, digital first digit, second digit, and third digit, gradually up to ninth digit. There is kind of data distribution and the percentage, normally what it comes. So we relied on that data, and in this research, next slide, we have adopted first digit, second digit, and first two digit as a benchmark, Benford law, and we have looked into observed data with say 350 companies, how they are practicing. Normal it's just for the support. Digit number 1 appears 30% of the time, any randomly, naturally occurred data. Like it can be the voting numbers, it can be the number of people for certain parties, or it can be the profit, or it can be sales revenue. So it is naturally occurred data, not manipulated data. And obviously there are some considerations within that theory. And number 2 appears 17.6% of the time at the first place. And gradually the data Benford has identified the data in that way, which is what the benchmark for us. Next one, please. Yes, this is just, we just presented this data to calculate non-discretionary accruals, and that's what we identified by running regression line. The values are in this way. Yeah, and when we look into this one, the first figure are obviously benchmark, and then earnings management practices by the UK companies, how they are practicing. None of the lines are basically within the benchmark. That means UK corporations has obviously aggressively used accounting manipulations method. That's what it proves. And that's what our main focus was in the beginning when we started the research. But when we start looking into the data, what we identified is, up to number 4, the observed data, the earnings management data obviously manipulated by the UK corporations. We find out all are below the benchmark. And then we link this with big bath theory. So that means it has, provoked us basically to do further research. Obviously, we haven't gone through, individual companies, but it says that there is big bath theory being applied. And then when we go 5 and above, so obviously this means higher figure of the financial performance, and we can see the manipulations on the top, above the line of the benchmark. So again, this has informed us that the companies are using cookie jar technique. Because when the financial performance is quite high, they use cookie jar. When the financial performance is quite down, they use big bath technique, the financial corporations. So can you next please? So yeah, we just look this one through the line graph. So obviously up to 4.5. So they are below the, obviously they are towards the big bath theory, and from 4.5 onwards, cookie jar. So we have looked into 2-digit as well. It doesn't show really very visible manipulations in the second digit, from the second digit perspective, but still we can see here the trend here just below the benchmark and again above the benchmark. So big bath and cookie jar technique have been still practiced. The second digit also proves that. Next slide please. And this is particularly important with random. So we have looked into 2-digit data, first 2 digit from 10 all the way through the 99. And here as well up to 49%, what we have seen is, again, the benchmark, the observed data, the practice data is quite below the benchmark. Means, again, while looking into first 2 digits as well, we identify that big bath technique has been widely used by the corporations of the UK. They are aggressively manipulating accounting, obviously within the law, I can within the accounting practices, because there are issues. In 2015, Tesco was basically challenged, and then Manchester City Club are still going through these sort of allegations. So there are practices, but we need to obviously go industry and home-wise with the home-wise data for this one, which we haven't. Next slide, please. And this is just the line graph again to see whether just to improve the visibility about the cookie jar and big bath technique. Yeah, this started. Next slide, please. Limitation, of course, Benford law doesn't apply. It is not one size fits all approach. It doesn't apply to the height of the people, because it limits from maybe one to some certain, to a certain extent, like telephone numbers, because they are not random data. Next slide, please. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we found out that the corporations have practiced big bath technique in the UK. Corporations, they have aggressively used a discretionary approach model. A lot of finance management practices have been practiced. We have seen that in first digit and first 2 digit data analysis. Next one, please. These are the references, and